Welcome back to Resorts World Genting for ESL One Genting 2017. The Dota2 season has kicked off early in 2017. We're not wasting any time this year as we head into the Arena of Stars. As you can see, the crowd are just taking a little bit of a break. We also have an extended break here on the desk as well, which we welcome back a few familiar faces to the desk. Welcome back to Malini, to Purge, and of course the one and only Odie Pixel. How are you all doing?
Good.
All good? Enjoying the game so far?
Yeah, I'm just really glad we haven't seen all stomps like we did day one.
Yeah.
I think teams have really been getting their comfort zone in.
Yeah, it's nice to get a few good games in here. We've got an extended break, as I said, before the next matchup, so we're going to use that time to talk a little bit about 7.0, 7.01, and just get a general feeling from you as to how you feel like the meta's developing. I know it's very early still, it's 2 days, there's not much that we can judge it on, but we've got some stats on Dota Buff and we've had a look at some of the win rates and they're a little bit surprising, Odie.
I mean, there really is. I mean, kind of coming into the tournament, I hear that a lot of people were talking about was the Slaughter.
Yep.
It was something that was being picked a lot in pub games. It was having relatively, I believe, quite a good win rate in pub performance, but here, most picked, 8 games, 12.5%, only 1 win in there. I mean, that's
crazy. I mean, you'd never have predicted that.
I mean, what's up with that, Purge? Why are we seeing that happen with Slaughter?
My first guess is I think that Slaughter is not very good at punishing in the laning stage. I think once he gets Blink Dagger, there's a lot of great things he does, but in laning stage, I think there's just better offlane heroes. Would you agree with that?
I think so, but he sometimes doesn't go to offlane. I think that's one of his main problems why he has been losing a lot. It's just because he's picked very early on in the draft when you don't actually know what he's good against. So it's like, oh, he's not good in the offlane, we're going to throw him to support, but he might not be the best hero, as opposed to a hero like Rubik, let's say, who is good in a lot of situations. Like Slaughter, if you don't have that much physical damage, his ultimate's not that useful. Like if you don't have follow-up stuns, or if you can't farm a blink, he's not that useful, whereas I think Rubik would be a much better first pick.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of teams have just been picking up early on in the draft without really a good plan for him.
Yeah, it's interesting, Rubik, isn't it? Because earlier on in the year when we were in previous patches, he was kind of like a 5 pick or a 4 pick. He was quite safe to pick wherever you wanted to pick him, but very rarely we'd see him early on. Here, we've seen him very early on, first pick, second pick, and actually he's got a 100% win rate. Only 4 games, admittedly, but it's seemingly worked out.
Yeah, he can fit into any strategy, but I think the biggest difference that I've seen from this patch is that teams are showing what they want from the first pick, like the Meepos that we've seen in the first phase multiple times now, and I'm surprised we haven't seen Sven yet. He's one of the heroes that I like the most versus Meepo.
Right.
He's a lot worse in this patch, though. They changed Cleave. I haven't actually played a game on him yet, but I know it's more cone and less of a giant circle in front of you, and there's less camp respawn, so it's more difficult to stack camps and to get a lot of farm in that way. So is a good counter. Winter Wyvern's, I think, a little bit better on paper in pubs, at least. So.
Who else has surprised you, either picked that you didn't expect to see quite as early, or is there any others in the pool that you think, well, actually, I'm sure we should have seen more of them so far?
Well, I thought that that series was starting to confuse me, the amount of Winter Wyvern picks. That's a hero that is very good against Meepo, but it's good against things like Legion Commander duels, like heroes that are entirely physically based, but it was picked like opening first to a couple of those games, and in some of the cases, not entirely warranted, and really did fall flat. So that was a hero I think people got a little over-eager about just because they saw a good performance or two yesterday.
Okay. Ben, I want to ask you a question about Wisp. On 7.01 and 7.00 right now, across all games played, 38% win rate in both. It's the lowest of all heroes, and yet everyone I've spoken to here has been, no, really good, really good.
I think he's really
I think he could be really strong.
I think he's really strong.
So why are we seeing that difference?
I'm not exactly sure yet, but I think he's strong because of the amount of runes that you can get. Like, you're often just traveling in between the lanes as Wisp, and you can just refill your bottle, and you have like even more healing than before because of how often you can refill your bottle. But aside from that, I don't really know why he hasn't been winning that much.
Yeah, well, he hasn't been picked much. I mean, he's been winning. We saw him in conjunction with an Underlord yesterday. Worked very effectively.
Yeah, he's got a win here for the tournament. I mean, yeah, he gives you a lot of regen, but I feel like you don't even need that as much as you did in the last patch, because now you've got fountains. Who needs an IO when you can just walk to a shrine, and there's 2 shrines, and there's a shrine in your base. You don't even have to walk all the way to your fountain to get healed now. I think that aspect of IO is actually less important now because you do have that backup. If anything, you'd want his rotations to actually get something done, and it's difficult to do that, I feel. There's just so many better roaming forward positions than IO for that reason.
So you think that's maybe why we're not seeing the pros picking him up quite so much?
Yeah, I mean, and it's also, people are trying to figure out what their limits are. And IO is definitely a hero that can exploit limits, but I think things are a little bit too up in the air. It's so much safer just to grab something that's a disable. or a hard stun or a silence or something.
Eddie Pixel, we've seen a couple of really good Ember Spirits so far.
We have, exactly. We've seen, 2 games, and each time they went for a different build. We saw one where it went for the Veil Radiance, one where they went for the Veil Blade Mail Lincoln Sphere, and both were absolutely incredible. And I was going to say, you mentioned kind of what heroes are we a little surprised we're not seeing more of. I'd say that one. It has been banned out 3 times, so teams are taking it into account, but I wonder kind of as this day progresses, and obviously going into tomorrow as well, we have got obviously MP coming up. That's a team that could pick it, so I think in that draft and in future drafts, Ember Spirit is certainly going to go up in popularity here now.
We've seen a little bit more Shadow Fiend, which always pleases me. Quite like the plays. So.
And again, that's a hero we could definitely see. We've got no one on VP, arguably one of the best Shadow Fiends at the moment still in the tournament. And it's a hero that they were trying to make yesterday work against Newbie. I want to say they lost one of the games they did play it in. I think they won. Did they play it twice in that series? Was it just the loss?
I can't remember. I think they did play. Yeah, they played it with an Underlord, I believe, and they won that game. And they picked it again, and they got shut down a little bit by roaming. The other hero that's been really dominant is Queen of Pain. Very picked. 5 games, won 4 of them. And that's the arguably fourth most picked hero of the tournament so far. It's only been some teams that are playing around with her, but the ones that have been really successful.
Yeah, we saw one poor game, I think.
That was today, Warriors gaming, I believe.
And it was a struggle.
Yeah.
Ben, anything that you haven't seen yet you thought you would?
I think Enigma. I'm a little bit surprised. I think the general conception is that the jungle is a lot weaker because of the spawns, but there's more camps to compensate for that, and I think Enigma's junglers are considered weak because they make your lanes weak, but they only make your lane weak for like 4 or 5 minutes because that's how long it takes to get level 6. And then it's nighttime, you smoke, you get a kill with Black Hole, and there's been like a lot of huge team fight lineups, and I think that he just takes the cake for being the king team fighter.
You can still level as fast. I saw a video of a guy doing it. It was like 4.5 minutes.
Yeah,
you want Bladestone, and you also can't break your clarities anymore, so it's actually easier to jungle in a lot of ways on Enigma than it was before.
Yeah, you can tank.
So.
It's super easy.
Okay, we're going to get into our match very shortly. One final question on the updates, and it kind of goes to all 3 of you. Shrine usage so far, how do you assess it? We'll start with you, Kevin.
It's been pretty reasonable for what we expected, I think.
You don't think we've seen any strategy sort of basing it around it, or trying to push tier 2s or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, we've sometimes seen like a TP into Shrine to kill a guy that roamed early on, things like that. But past that, it's mostly just been healing and kill them after the tier 2s are dead.
There's been a couple of players who've got caught out of position as well, and they've kind of, it almost seems like they've forgotten that that's there, and they've.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that too much.
I saw that once.
If you've played enough pubs, you know that. You don't fight around shrines.
There's like times where somebody will go there, low HP, and the other guy tries to lead him off, and they may or may not get there first. But I haven't really seen like a super close call in those cases, except for late game.
I think with the shrines as well, what's quite nice that I do like about them, I'm a little bit iffy about the whole kind of the regen on the middle of the map, mid-fight, and then suddenly it's like, all right, okay, you can't kill me, I'm going to kill you. But I do like the usage when it's kind of on the high ground. We saw it, I think it was actually in the last game I remember, where, obviously Warriors game, they did lose, but there was a defense where they held on, they were on really low life, but because of the shrine, they were able to instantly get themselves back in the fight and aggressively fight off, obviously, the side of Execration when they were still trying to defend. You know, it's a failed push, they're trying to back up. Normally it's like, okay, we've got to back up as well, but shrines allow you to just continue the fight and make sure that the enemy team's punished.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff. We'll talk, of course, more today and tomorrow, of course, during finals day about the recent patches. We are going to move on to our next matchup. It is a best of 3 between Team MP and Virtus.pro. We'll start with Team MP. Ben watched the game earlier on. Obviously, it's hard to assess because there's so few games of them, but they look much better today.
Yeah, I think Envy has performed very well today. Mirana and Ember Spirit, those are just in his wheelhouse, I would say. So if you're Virtus.pro, you either have a solution for Envy and these heroes, because I think he's the most volatile of the players in terms of MP's performance.
Expecting some respect bans?
Or counters, either or.
Yeah, I think it's more like they'll see the opener and then ban the heroes that correspond really well with that.
Right.
Although that may not even work. I mean, in their final game, they picked Mirana. It ended up being amazing. But it didn't synergize at all with their team for the first like 50 minutes. It wasn't until Mirana was like ready to own the game by herself that she became a really viable pick. So maybe that's, I feel like his pool is deep enough where he won't necessarily have to go to one of those heroes that he's okay at, but has some really inconsistent performances on. So I think NP will be fine draft-wise.
Okay. In terms of attention elsewhere in the team, OD Pixel, Aoi doesn't always get the plaudits he deserves, but he's also had a couple of good games today.
I mean, he's always had a solid game, you know what I mean? It's obviously not as flashy as what Envy's doing across the map, but Aoi's proven, obviously, in the first 2 games today, very reliable. He's always going to be in the right position. Sometimes, you know, I think it was in the second game, they were sort of behind at the mid-game, but then by the end of it, Aoi always at the top there with Envy, incredible amounts of farm, and he always seems to know the right times to turn up to the fight. This isn't someone that's over-aggressive, it's someone that knows, I'm going to use this lane to farm, and now my team needs me, or they can cope without me. You know, Envy and the boys have got this, I can stick here, farm up the lane. So I think a lot of eyes on Aoi. And another player to point out as well, I really feel is Rose. We saw him obviously playing 2 very aggressive kind of fours today with the Spirit Breaker and the Undying. And we're seeing just how crucial this position is and how crucial it is on that player to make things happen. So for me, a lot of eyes on Rose this game.
There is the lineup. We spoke about Rose, Aoi, Eternal Envy, SVG, and MSS in the lineup for Team NP. They go head-to-head with Virtus.pro, so NP versus VP. Looking forward to the commentary of that, just to see whether they, you know, trip up the tongues or anything.
I think the one thing that MP really has going for them that they've been doing fantastic since they got here is really good lane matchups. Even the one game that they had a lot of trouble with where Envy eventually carried it, the lanes starting off were put in such a way that it gave them a massive advantage against their opponents. But Fnatic eventually fought back, started getting some really good skirmishes by 10 to 20 minute mark. But I just thought that NP is clearly thinking the game out from the laning stage all the way to the mid game. Sometimes they had some disable problems, but it really impressed me because the laning stage has been really important so far.
Okay, we're going to turn our attention to Virtus.pro in a moment. One last question on MP. There was a lot of suggestion from all of the members of this panel, different ones to you obviously as well, that said their style doesn't suit this patch. Have they managed to persuade you otherwise?
I don't even know if I'd say they have I mean, their style's gone. Treant he's out of the game. Can't play it anymore. That was their go-to. Warlock's still good.
Omni Knight's
Mirana's still good.
Omni Knight's still good.
And Omni's good, and Ember's maybe better than he was before even. So I think they're fine. They'll be.
I don't think their style doesn't. I mean, I think Jacob was saying in particular that they play very slow, or maybe too slow.
Invoker, I still think they play a little bit slow. Like you don't see them like group up as 5 like very early on, like 10-15 minutes. That's not really their style. Even when they pick like Luna and Drought Ranger, they don't do that as often as other teams.
But they do grab heroes that are very good at 5-manning. Like
yeah,
Undying, Warlock, like they're ready to fight when the fights happen. Do you think that's just a stylistic choice though, or do you think
it's
just
a style choice?
Yeah, you don't think it impacts so much?
Yeah, they have the heroes to fight, but they just choose not to fight.
But they know it's there if they need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas Virtus.pro, obviously, we've seen the aggression that they come out with is very different style indeed. We'll talk about Virtus.pro now. So how do you assess their tournament so far?
It's been rocky, but at the same time, I think other than that game 3 against Newbie, it's shown a lot of promise. You know, this is a team very, very stable. I think it's a team that MP are going to have certainly more difficulty going against than in comparison to Fnatic this morning. You know, Fnatic obviously kind of a newer roster. VP, this is a roster where, you know, if Envy goes for one of his plays that's not quite going to have a 100% success rate, VP, they've got kind of the team coordination to punish it and make sure that any mistake that comes out from the lineup of MP is instantly punished and turned around. So I feel that MP, they can't be as flashy as they were this morning. They've got to be a little safer with their plays against this side.
It's true, isn't it? Virtus.pro are going to punish them for anything they even remotely make a mistake on.
I mean, they're extremely high-skilled players, but with that said, I saw a lot of drafting errors come out of VP. Their lane setups were weird and greedy. If they're drafting anything like they did on the last day that they played, MP's going to crush them.
Yeah, it's going to be a painful
happen. They got to get back up to the regular form where people expect them to play.
Yeah. Do you feel like that might be, sorry Ben, do you feel like that might be a little bit of holiday blues still hanging over? Haven't had a huge amount of time to practice?
If they pick like weird heroes and weird lanes, it means they have a lot of confidence, and I think a lot of the confidence was shattered after the Boston Major. They were probably a little bit too high-headed going into the tournament, and I don't know if they've like recovered from that, if they've been brought back down to earth and be like, okay, you need to try really hard not to do too weird of things. I'm still not particularly sure where they're at. I didn't really get too much of that from the newbie game. I wonder if they're going to like adopt newbies. Kind of form of playing Quap a lot, because that was actually one of the heroes that I saw that was his best hero back in the day.
Yep, there's the lineup. We've already sent the interview with Sir Action Lax. It was a limited interview, it has to be said. It was on a roller coaster. I'm sure these boys are hoping this is not a roller coaster and it's all uphill for their opponents today as they try and make their semi-final. And we'll just get your final thoughts on this particular matchup with the predictions. Ben, we'll start with you. Virtus.pro presumably come into this as favourites, having dropped down from the upper bracket final. MP's form this morning, has that changed the dynamic of who is the favourite in this game?
I think Fnatic were not in that great of shape, and MP just hasn't really been. It wasn't that great of a showing from them because they were up against a weak team. So I think VP 2-0.
Okay.
Ooh, I think I disagree with that. I think NP, this is the best that they played, I think, so far. Maybe not overall total, but I think they played very well today. Their drafting was good. Their laning was good. I think they played much better than VP did the other day. Even though the team was worse, I don't know. It definitely could be draft advantages. I think it's close. I would say probably NP 2-1.
Okay.
Yes.
These are interesting because this is not how this was supposed to go yesterday at all.
I just feel like VP they were under-leveled on their supports consistently. Their draft was weird. I think NP has the edge right now, but VP could definitely turn around.
All right, community, just to help you out, ODPixel. Community 66-34 in favour of Virtus.pro. So where are you going?
I would agree with that. I've got to agree
Okay.
with Ben as well.
Right.
I really feel 2-0.
You're going with Twitch chat right now. You realise that,
I'm
right?
going with the memes, absolutely. But no, to kind of just go on from what Ben said, I
Yeah.
really feel that, yeah, VP got knocked down, but they did get knocked down by Newbie, and Newbie arguably looking like one of the best sides here at this LAN. So how much you can take away from that in comparison to obviously MP's matchup against Fnatic, I think you can take away that they've just been tested that little bit more than MP. This is the real test for MP, and VP, I feel they're really going to give it to them.
All right, okay, we're moments away from the draft, but we do, of course, need a couple of teams on the main stage. Let's head over there right now to Eri.
Game 3 is set right here at the Arena of Stars at Resorts World Genting. Our first team making their way to the stage, we have Team NP! Here we have Team NP! Their opponents, we have Virtus.pro! Show some love for Virtus.pro! Game 3 is set at Resorts World Genting. Will Virtus.pro move on to the next round? Or will Team NP celebrate with another bottle of Sky Juice? Game is set right here at the Arena of Stars. NP versus VP.
Thank you very much. Yes. We'll see whether they'll be celebrating the juice or not. Big game for both teams right now on the verge of the semi-final. We already know two of our semi-finalists. This will be the third one. Obviously, got another match after this one to come as well. So still plenty of Dota2 to come. We know where it's going, but we're going to move into the draft now, which means we've already mentioned it once. Virtus.pro have got to overcome this sticky patch of picking weird stuff.
Yeah, I think, I kind of want to hear what Persia's opinion is, because you're the kind of the guy that's been saying, VP, you feel, yesterday against Newbie, you just didn't like what they were doing? Was it
They did reactionary stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they grabbed a bat in, they tried to move around to control more lanes. Didn't work out very well. They picked roaming Weaver. Normally very successful for them in past patches, but they fell flat pretty hard in some cases. A lot of that was because their opponents kept grabbing quad mid, so like roaming Pudge, not going to work there. Roaming Weaver, not going to be very effective. That kind of stuff was definitely a blockade. Could have just been Newbie, but I feel like putting yourself in those positions in the first place is a huge mistake.
We're also going to get over some mental gremlins as well, Ben, because they'll want to kind of forget that yesterday. What do they tell themselves? Did they say, well, Newbie are world-class right now, we lost to a world-class team, let's not get too downhearted about it, ignore it, move on?
Probably, but there were some weird elements to the draft yesterday that they probably didn't expect. Like the first phase Drow Ranger was completely unexpected. I haven't seen really that many other teams do it, at least not on the main stage. And then they also did the support Weaver, which was also something that not that many teams pull off with success other than VP. So
Yeah.
they were probably like, what? These guys are doing this strat? Because newbie haven't really shown that much before. I guess they showed that Centaur strat that they played exactly the same way earlier, but that's also kind of a new face offlane Centaur. Who picks Centaur nowadays? So I think they were caught off guard, and they'll be more wise to their ways.
Do you think they might go back for some comfort picks here, Kevin? Virtus.pro?
I think so. I mean, I think they've been ignoring a lot of heroes that there were absolute staples before, like Ogre Magi, for example. You can influence your lanes, you can stimulate your carries to make them even better than they would be normally. I think stuff like that is fairly reasonable. A lot of teams are focusing on laning stage, and VP kind of seems like they're trying to do that, but I really was surprised how underleveled their supports were consistently. Even when they had a hero like Disruptor, they'd be level 4 at 10 minutes or level 4 at 9 minutes. They need to prioritize, I think, maybe some staples, zone the offlaner if possible, do a lot of pulling and connect throughs, that kind of stuff, to guarantee that your supports do get some advantage as well. Because at some point, it's going to be the supports moving around the map getting kills. Of course, can't do it every time, it's more obvious.
Deep in thought right now as we head towards this draft, and what do you think is going through their mind, Owen?
I think a lot of pressure, really. You know, obviously, as we keep mentioning, coming out of the matchup that they had yesterday, and
no pressure there.
Owie, he's relaxing. He's got this one in the bag. But no, I feel for both teams, VP more so, because a lot more was expected from them potentially, and you don't expect a team like VP to be beaten down as hard as they were yesterday. So understandable there, why a little deep in thought, preparing for this draft, and as we're seeing as well, I mean, the importance of the draft. Do you think the draft is more important or less important than it was in the previous patch?
I think it's really important right now because people are uncomfortable with the what is normal. They don't really know exactly what they can get away with, what they can't get away with. And then you get put in these games where it ends up being a stomp because you're completely off base there, or you're not expecting your opponents to ever pick Quap because Quap has barely been touched for, I don't know, 6 months, a year maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lack of practice on certain one. I mean, theory crafting's one thing, but actually playing with a specific hero, you've got to still be able to play it well.
And it's completely different from pubs. You know, everybody was focused so heavily on Helm of the Dominator and has been impactful here, but in some cases maybe even been over-purchased on every carry kind of a thing. So there's a lot of small things that seem viable in pubs that just genuinely won't work against really good teams.
Early Drow ban.
So Underlord is still in. That's the biggest thing that I noticed.
As is the Luna, as is the Shadow Demon,
I think.
as is the Marauder.
I mean, I kind of like to see VP just take the Shadow Demon. They're very, very good with it, and
Well, they can take STM on if they want.
they could get the combo. Or something like the kind of the Slardar ST as well. I kind of feel it could help VP if they kind of stick with the.
Oh, it's 12.5% win rate.
I know, but their Slardar Lifestealer is. They are, I'd say, one of the best teams with that combo.
Yeah.
I think it's too early for Slardar. I think they would prefer to grab something that's better in the offlane, just pressure-wise.
Okay.
Underlord's
Okay.
perfect for it.
Yep, so Ben called that one.
Put him with something else. Underlord's fixture is really just farming, get a big team fight item like Mac or Vlad's, and then join your team with fights.
We're going to see the Wisp in here.
I don't think they'll pick it up first phase.
Yeah.
They like it second or third phase,
Yep.
generally. The question is whether or not they want to deal with the SD. SD hasn't been banned. And NP, I'm not sure how likely they are to take it, but
With the Luna.
It's so good against Luna late game though. You just Disruptor and you get these amazing
yeah,
illusions.
it's really good.
And Solo plays a amazing Shadow Demon
It really
anyway,
is.
so.
One of the things I don't like about it though is it's weak for the dual lane off lane, which I think that VP kind of have been liking to do.
That's true.
That's I think the one big downside about it, because I think they probably want to pressure to Luna's lane. Pasha doesn't go jungle very often.
So grab Disruptor many times before. I think they can still make it work. They just need to prioritize his levels a bit better.
He's good versus Envy's good heroes too, like the Ember and the Mirana. He's very good versus both of those.
And I can't remember if I don't think it was VP, but we've definitely seen another team pick this opening, this LAN, and it obviously just allows you to have an incredible amount of crowd control in the team fights there. And the synergy of the pit into the kinetic field, it becomes very hard for the opponents to fight around if they don't have their BKBs.
Do you see the Luna Marauder combo this time? I've seen it already very effective once.
Sisters got to stick together, right, Owen?
Absolutely. What's that? What does that mean?
It means
Ken?
nothing.
I mean,
And it was successful.
Nice breaking the ice, Bridge.
No problem. We're sisters now.
I saw you crack a smile when Red Eye said something to you. I was like, man, that would make my day if I made Purge smile about something.
Really?
but some-
Can I remember what it was so I can do it again?
It was something about them exchanging MP versus VP. It might have been a pity smile, but it was still a
Probably
smile.
was.
Yeah, I, think that was, I don't remember this. That was pretty
It was a pity
I was like,
smile.
please, Red Eye, I want to talk about something.
yeah.
Second phase bans, one underway.
Yeah, standard ones there as well. Shadow Demon, as we mentioned. Yeah, they just don't want to have the chance of going up against an SD. Luna, SD and Morana as well, two absolutely disgusting combinations. And you kind of mentioned it before, Red. The Shadow Fiend gets a touch upon here, banning it against no one, as I mentioned before. One of his best heroes in the mid lane, and something that they have shown that they're very happy with picking in this patch.
But it means that they're not scared of the Wisp, because usually when they pick Shadow Fiend, they pair it with the Wisp. They could easily just ban the Wisp, and that's kind of like banning out the Shadow Fiend, which is a little bit more interesting. So Ramsey's heroes still kind of up in the air. He has 3 of his bans targeted towards him, I would say. And he used to play really funny stuff like Chaos Knight and Spectre. I think were the 2 that I saw him play. I was like, who plays this anymore? But he's that guy.
Chaos Knight's not ready. The hero needs a rework.
It's great as a support.
Stop saying that. It's actually not. It's like the worst scaling ability in the game.
Hey, I wonder if they bring back the Ramses Jara. We saw Wings do it. It won a game, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it was one of his classics.
It'd be really sick with their combo.
Yeah, it's got a good team fight with the Underlord and Disruptor.
I mean, I don't know if you want to do it against a Luna Morana, though. Like, Gyro has single target damage issues, unless you go the Eggs build, so I just don't see it being effective against Luna Morana. I think you just get bursted down repeatedly.
You could always bust out a Huskar. I kind of forgot about the hero, but I think Ramsey's played it before.
Yeah, I haven't seen any Huskar here.
Huskar Wisp would be nice, but I don't know if it's good this patch at all.
Okay, there's the Ogre.
There's the staple they've been needing this whole time. Lane pressure. You can just harass Morana. You just sit mid and let him attack you, and you're like space created as your mid gets last hits. Because they have Underlord, I feel like, especially Ogre Magi as well, they just hit for this like 25-minute timing, I feel like.
What heroes do you think would pair best with it, seeing as you called out Ogre as one of their better heroes?
That was the extent of my knowledge.
Oh, okay.
I'm done. I'm out.
I mean, would you like to see maybe for Ramsey something like okay.
Wow,
No
we finally
sniper.
get a sniper.
It's good.
All right.
They're back.
It's taken 2 days, but we finally got one.
It's like a Boston Majors draft they did. They did Ogre Magi and Sniper, and they actually were able to keep up farm with an Alchemist, pretty much, just with Bloodlust and a fast Maelstrom. He went like Dragonlance Maelstrom, I believe. It was really effective.
They also have no heroes that can get on top of the Sniper.
Not yet.
When we saw the Lone Druid game with a super far range build, it was like he was up against Ember and Wraith King, but like Luna can't fight against a Sniper. Like the range disparity is just too great, and Morana also can't leap in on a Sniper.
I'd say Warlock too, really.
Yeah, Warlock too, and it's also protected by the Underlord. So I think the Sniper's like set up for really great success in this game.
Yeah, if he just goes like Mech Vlads or something like that, and he has Bloodlust on top of that, he's gonna hit really hard. I do wonder if NP's just gonna snag Avenge here for support, just to help offset some of the Underlord aura, as well as you could swap Sniper. I think that would be decent. It also gives them a arrow setup. Right now they've got nothing for Morana.
And also something as well, yeah, to get people out of kind of Underlord and Disruptor's combination. I mean, already this battlefield is going to be an absolute mess with fields being thrown down, Pit of Malices, shrapnel everywhere from VP. It's going to be very hard for the side of MP to come into a 5v5, and unless they do get a good jump on one of the backliners or the sniper in VP's case.
Yeah, they need a way to get in the fight, like a Blink Ravage. I think would be perfect.
Yeah,
that's something.
Okay. Oh god,
Yeah, they'll do it.
I was gonna say this, but I was like, I really hope they don't pick Spirit Breaker, because
like
Spirit
it?
Breaker is awful against Underlord. You just put the pit down, and it lasts like 12 seconds, and if he charges through it, he's just stunned. It's terrible against Underlord if the pit is in the right place. And I was thinking about it, but Darkseer's already banned, so I didn't expect it. But I'm not feeling good about SB here. They're a little weak on Disable at least, but at least in like mid to late game team fights, it's not a good matchup.
Maybe they just wanted a hero that could skirmish, because Warlock already covers a 5-on-5, so maybe they want heroes that can move around the map a lot more. So I think it's good if the Underlord's not there, which may happen for the majority of the early game, but I agree with you in the team fights that it's going to be a tough one for SB.
Okay, final picks and final bans. What are we looking for on MP then?
Off-laner for MSS.
Still need MSSs. Well, yeah, the Omni ban as well, very much. Something that we've seen already be very strong this tournament. I think he's played 2 games, 1-2, has been banned out 6, now 7 times.
Beast, Tide, I think, are generally the ones that he plays. They don't pick Batrider very often, although I think it would be not so bad for them. They don't really have great ways to deal with the Bat. We also see Clockwork sometimes as a hero to get into the Sniper.
What'd you do against Disruptor though? That's the one here.
That's the one. That's why I don't. think it's
What do you think
particularly
about a potential MSS Nyx Assassin?
Nyx is all right too, but it's just like you gotta bypass like the Underlord in this particular game.
It's not that good this game. I mean, Underlord, Disruptor, Ogre aren't really targets that you're going to want to nail. It's basically just Sniper, and I think picking a Nyx just for a Sniper, which is kind of okay, but not that great. I like the Bat Rider idea. I think it's a good tool against Underlord, just to always kite around him. You have tons of damage. He's a little bit weak for lots of disable, and it could pull Sniper out of position. I like that. Or something to facilitate Spirit Breaker to make him a better hero, like a Darkseer or an Omni Knight, both banned, but something that would help SB Roam to actually be more effective if he's underleveled. Because right now it's like their gank is not amazing. Like Warlock can roam around a little bit, but I think that's a good solution. Sand King, Spirit Breaker, dual off lane. They've got more disables. They've got more arrow setups. They've got more damage in the lane.
Is it going to be Bloodseeker time though for Ramses? Bloodseeker, Ogre Sniper. That's what they do a lot.
Oh, that's right. They did that at Boston.
Yeah. I think it's also pretty good versus Sand King.
That really would be going back to what they know, wouldn't it?
And they have set up for the Blood Right with the double. Like,
Yeah, a lot of AoE control.
Static Storm into Bloodright.
I mean, what about kind of the skirmishing heroes, Gyro, Sven? I mean, even the Ursa is something that Ramses is very good at as well.
I don't know if I like Gyro or Ursa this game, and the other ones I think are very uncommon right now.
I think a lot of this game is just based around the Sniper though. Like he's kind of the main damage dealer, I think. So.
I think I like the Bloodseeker idea a lot. You could even do like Rupture Glimpse or something.
Ooh.
Just buy 4 staffs.
Are his talents even any good?
They're pretty good. They do go for the Ursa. It's okay.
It is something that Ramses is very, very historically strong at, and he obviously benefits from the Bloodlust from the Ogre. Get those swipes in.
He could suffer
be good.
in lane, I think is my only issue.
He could get kited a lot as well, I guess, with kind of the breaker on him, the stuns from the Sand King.
Yeah.
That is an issue, potentially.
All right, okay. Thank you, all three of you. It's time to head over to our commentary team right now. And our commentary team has also been refreshed as well. Capitalist and Gods. It's all yours, boys.
Thank you, Paul. That's right. Me and Gods are going to be casting this next one. Gods already called out the 4th pick Sniper, and it seems like the analysts backed you up there. They felt like the Sniper was pretty strong pickup. Did that allow VP to win the draft, though?
I think so. I kind of got to the 5th pick, and I'm like, it didn't seem to matter to me what they put Ramses on. I liked VP's draft regardless. They just need another kind of hero to be in the front lines for the Sniper. This Sniper is going to be very hard to reach. The last 2 NP heroes, Spirit Breaker and Sand King, are designed to kind of be gap closers, but as Purge kind of mentioned, getting to the Sniper with charge, very difficult. Against some of these heroes like Underlord. The Sand King's a bit better off because he can blink him with a Burrow Strike, but the follow-up, it's going to have to come from some seriously good positioning and play from Eternal Envy on the Marana.
It's going to be hard to get past that Sniper, or excuse me, that Ursa, that Ogre, the Underlord as well. You've got 3 pretty tanky heroes that you have to make your way through in order to follow that Sand King onto the Sniper. So VP definitely drafting themselves what we feel like is an early advantage, but we'll have to see. NP certainly have a good combination of team fight and pushing power. They've got some early game power thanks to heroes like Spirit Breaker, Sand King, and even the Marana are able to put some decent pressure in here and there when it comes to skirmishes. And then they've got 2 really big team fight ultimates in the Luna as well as the Warlock. If they can actually snowball you, we could see NP definitely getting out of control real quickly, right?
And we've seen a few times. This is like Warlock plus AoE drafts of NP with the Marana, with the Luna ultimates. It's just one of them games where they're maybe a little bit behind, didn't have the greatest early game. All it takes is one big team fight where they hit that 3 to 5 hero fatal bonds. Envy will just immediately go blink in for when he gets his Ag Scepter, get the double Starstorm off, and that damaged output with the fatal bonds is just absurd. So you have to be very careful about how aggressive you play if you're VP, and that's where they need these tanky frontliners. The Ursa is a very good pick because of the Enrage. I don't think this is a game where Ramses is necessarily going to get a lot of kills. It's the Sniper who's going to pick up the kills. This hero was largely picked because he's pretty good in lane. He does have good lane dominance, and then he can just be very tanky and hard to kill with like a BKB Ags Enrage in the front lines.
Yeah, he's pretty nice, particularly against Luna, right? This is this big like team fight damage over time spell that you just pop in Rage and tank up a lot of the moonbeams for your allies, and you're going to be kind of good to go. I actually want to talk about Underlord. What did you think about Underlord in the previous series, especially that last game? That it felt like as an offlaner that wasn't able to accomplish as much as was needed for WG Unity.
Yeah, it's a hero you really kind of have to play around. He's fairly item dependent, level dependent. I compared him a few times to the Tidehunter in that way, but it did feel like WG Unity couldn't get the full value out of him. I think partly because they were playing with an Alchemist. I think the hero really shines when you're playing more aggressive and 5-man pushing. They were playing more on the back foot, which is perhaps where it didn't work as well. Whereas this game, I look at VP, and once they get like a good timing with Sniper having a couple items, they get the level 7 Ogre with Bloodlust max out, they're going to be the ones pushing forward.
So Underlord's definitely a hero that you're going to be picking up early on in the draft because of how contested he usually is, and you have to draft around that hero very much, right? And in which case we feel like the Sniper is a more powerful ally to the Underlord than the Alchemist that we saw last series.
I feel so.
Yeah, I can definitely get down with that. Laning-wise, what are we going to have? Underlord, maybe Ogre's going to be making his way from mid to off lane here and there or something, but he's going to be matched up against a Luna Warlock, and of course our Spirit Breaker is going to be the roamer on the NP side. So it feels like a lane that Underlord should be able to do pretty well with his natural tankiness. A Sniper facing up against the Priestess of the Moon in the middle lane. Eternal Envy already picking up his signature Ring of Bacillus to see if he can toggle his way to an early CS advantage.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be any big surprises here. The Ogre roaming, NP going for a more traditional, just full-on trialing. Something you kind of have to do with the Warlock, who's not going to be able to zone an Underlord by himself. So often when you've got a kind of a weak dual lane, you just have to commit that full position to the safe lane to start things off. And Pasha's not even going out to lane. He's actually already walking back to just keep blocking waves up top.
MSS, as the Sand King, is facing up against Disruptor Ursa. That sounds pretty nasty, but he does get pretty lucky on his offlane camp. He managed to get the Trolls first, and that is a very easy pull for him to be able to take advantage of. He already has the Quelling Blade as well, so we may very well see an early Iron Talon that can help speed his way towards a Blink Dagger, and he won't have to deal with that threatening power of an Ursa in lane.
Yeah, one of these new offlane things, which is just absurd with how easy this makes you to get your level 2. Ramsey's just trying to swoop his way through to make sure he gets that XP, but MSS has already ditched it. He's at the tower now, making sure he gets the creep XP, so really nice start for him, the Trolls, and this just makes his life a lot easier, because the killing potential now of this dual lane is a lot more limited once MSS gets level 2. He's got the Burrow Strike, can potentially even get a Sandstorm if he needs to as well.
Yeah, that's something that you can kind of hold on to and see the opportunity for a Sandstorm. Lil does not have any counter vision, so this may be a possible play for MSS to play a lot more aggressive since the counter wards have already been placed.
So it looks like Oge's already used up most of his mana roaming around this middle lane, so we'll see him contest some of those 2-minute runes, try and come up, take the bounty rune away from NP if possible. And not a whole lot NP can do to kill him here, but they will try and snag it.
Looks like it will be enough to push Solo back. CS-wise, it's looking pretty good. Luna's already taking an early lead. Sniper is taking the advantage against Eternal Envy as the Priestess of the Moon, but that's kind of to be expected. This Mirana is not going to be able to get much early CS against that Ignite. Now the Spirit Breaker is going to come in and try and interrupt things a little bit. Solo preemptively popping that Ironwood Branch and Tango to be able to make sure he has easily enough regen against a potential charge into arrow combo. So not even a real attempt from NP. They're just hoping to be able to push him back, buys Jackie some space, but it's just not happening. Solo continues to place himself on the opposing cliff, just keeping Eternal Envy completely zoned out.
I mean, the good for NP is the offlane right now. This Sand King is getting a tremendous amount of farm as well as experience. The bad is the mid lane. It's a mismatch as far as obviously being a 1v2 lane and also just no one of those very mechanically solid players. And Envy's kind of fallen back. He's thrown an arrow at some neutrals here, looking to play catch up. He's actually just ditching this mid lane at this point and going full on jungle. It's like slightly concerning, but it's not too worrying just yet. It's kind of the hero that will catch up very quickly with a kill or two from a rotation from a Spirit Breaker a bit later on.
Yeah, honestly, just because of the Sacred Arrow and the way he's able to take all those bigger creeps from these camps, he will manage to at least keep a semblance of farm while he waits for an easier lane to present itself.
Doesn't seem like either offlane is really being challenged too much. I mean, Pasha's hitting up the jungle. He's got his level 3, so he's Firestorm jungling with the Stout and the Quelling Blade. So neither team making any big moves just yet. If anything, it's probably going to be more on like the NP side. Perhaps with the early levels on Sand King, they can actually get aggressive here. Something like a Sand King Spirit Breaker rotation. Unlikely we see Underlord try to make too many aggressive moves. This is a hero that just wants to kind of defend his tower for as much as possible.
Yeah, that is the one big difference, right? Is that even some of the sustain heroes, like for example Omni Knight, they still want to be pretty active, but it's like the two offlaners that are popular right now that are a little bit different is the Darkseer and the Underlord. Those are two that just kind of park themselves in the lane and they don't like to actually rotate out just because their constant laning presence is the most powerful thing about them.
VP's moves are probably going to be more around the Ursa and some of his level timings. They can not really push this bottom tower. Maybe we'll come back in, but
get some damage onto Eternal Envy. Not a whole lot, but just something to keep him back. He's still sitting at 9-2 when it comes to CS. Half of that probably being neutrals, while 29-20 on no one, making sure to get every single one of those denies when possible. Charge away by Rose as he heads up towards the top lane, heading on to Pasha. He's trying to pull the creep wave back off the tower, collect some of that experience safely, and it looks like that won't be too much of a problem.
Yeah, I think this looks to be NP's easiest play to make. Go for the early tier 1 tower top. Luna's not quite level 6, but definitely with a level 6 Luna, they can force VP to make a response or give up this top tier 1 tower. That's going to kind of help free up some space for Envy in theory if they have to rotate Ogre up there. So Envy's probably making the call, guys, take that tower, help push things out, buy some time for me to kind of get some more out of this map.
Unfortunately, the Underlord has proven to be quite the opponent versus this push. Every single time he's just been able to Firestorm and pull those creeps off the tower, so not much tower damage done so far. Luna not wanting to brave the fires of the pit just to be able to get some damage, some chip away on that offlane tower. Similar situation, MSS hasn't lost too much damage on his tower. He's actually going to go for an early smoke up here with Rose.
Rose was spotted by that observer, not smoking, but he did pop by the ward, so they know he's around this mid lane, but they're not expecting him to perhaps smoke up from the high ground. It's like this is the move to try and catch no one on the sniper.
And this should be a guaranteed kill, easily leading up with the Burrow Strike, even the epicenter being thrown down just to ensure that no one does indeed fall, because it is such a critical kill. Eternal Envy will very gladly take up that first blood as he definitely needs the comeback.
Yeah, that's the comeback smoke gang. They're kind of looking at the lanes like, look, Sand King's doing way better than you'd maybe hope. Mirana's doing way worse than we'd hope. Let's kind of fix those problems and just go for that early. TP, instantly they use the Shrine to make sure they have the mana and HP for it, and very quick, decisive play from NP.
MSS already back to that bottom lane, continuing to defend his tower. Ramses has picked up the Phase Boots and the Morbid Mass. The Blink Dagger will be an eventual pickup. Glimpse back, they are going to be able to catch MSS here. Might be able to pop, and the charge comes through. Manages to stop some of that damage, but it looks like the right clicks and the Thunder Strike's going to be enough. And now Rose is in some serious trouble. He's not going to be able to make it out of here alive. It seems he's in tier 2 tower. Ramses actually backing up that kill for a second, but they still manage to claim it. Solo will brave the tower's damage in order to claim that extra kill. 2-1 now, as Solo is going to actually make it a 2-2. Unfortunately, still dies to the tier 2, but probably still worth it in the end for VP. Arrow comes out. Yo, Ramses almost running back into that one. Rose TP's in and immediately goes for the charge. Does get glimpsed back. He'll go ahead and take a timeout in the fountain, waiting for his next charge.
Oh, Luna sending the center all the way to this bottom lane. That's some team help coming out from AUI, but does look like they're going to keep this bottom tier 1 tower alive for now. Ursa not really known for his ability to turn kills into towers all too effectively, but still a win for VP in this bottom lane. Getting the key kills, Ogre going down, a bit unfortunate for them as a result of Ramses' misclick, but in the end it's still a favorable trade.
They see the charge coming in. Solo will put a quick stun onto Eternal Envy, especially under the Shrapnel. Does a lot. Now Rose is going to be the next target of the Shrapnel. He's easily going to go down here as well. The arrow comes out, but it's a bit too late. Doesn't catch anything. Eternal Envy is going to be forced into a preemptive leap there, as the ultimate coming out from no one being threatened.
They'll get some damage on this mid tier 1 as a result, so that's going to just keep putting pressure on there. Really kind of upping the ante here, VP, as they feel like they've defended their top tier 1 tower. They can start finding some of these kills. Ursa's in a pretty good state, hitting level 8. Is being charged here, but this is going to be scouted out by a Radiant Observer Ward and likely cancelled by Rose.
It's kind of interesting that they put the pressure on the enemy safe lane in this situation. They've only really tried to gank that sniper once. I think it was a great move. It was absolutely needed by NP, but I expected, I guess, a little bit more pressure from MSS and Rose on that mid lane, but instead they're going to try and claim this tower and take some control of VP's jungle.
Sniper going to come down bottom as well, so setting up to defend this one.
TP in. Shrapnel's going to be able to slow things out. Rose actually going in. They do manage to follow this up with a Centaur. Nice positioning there on the side. AUI gets a beautiful ultimate on the other side of the trees, isolating that one support with his positioning. And they just blow up that one hero, the Disruptor. Now VP are going to be left to try and hide behind their tier 1 tower, but they're constantly being pecked away at by NP. We could have an arrow, potentially even a couple of loosened beams to be thrown out, weakening some of these heroes. So VP are not going to take any chances. Looks like they're just going to go for the full out of the Underlord. Nice stun from MSS, but that's more looks than anything else. NP seemingly will take this tower due to the forfeit of VP.
Pretty nifty use for the Underlord ultimate, get you out of a bad position there, and that was with NP having committed their ultimates. They did not win it, well, a couple of their ultimates. They still had the epicenter being the key thing there, as well as the chaotic offering had just come up, and I think VP suddenly had panic bells in their heads, like, wait a second, they may have just used Mirana as well as Luna's ultimates, but they've still got a very hefty amount of teamfight left, and VP not really ready to fight until they get a key item or two on Sniper, on the Ursa. Ursa just seeing with the Morbid Mask, Sniper hasn't even completed the Dragonlance, so he's not all too tanky. And I think most importantly, it's the defensive item on 9 Pasha. Not having a mech, it's going to make a big difference in these team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like the later levels, this VP team can actually get really tanky. You talked about the Dragonlance for the Sniper. He's also got that level 15 talent where he gets an extra 200 health. The Ursa obviously is just going to get tankier and tankier than the mech that we're all expecting from Pasha. They're trying to threaten the opposing safe lane tower as best they can. NP don't seem to be wanting to rotate and save that one. Instead, just pushing for some farm. Gladly taking a trade-off of Tier 1 for Tier 1, apparently.
VP's vision game has been phenomenal so far. Like, they've got wards, seeing that entire move down bottom, even though that didn't work to their advantage, the ward in the mid lane and top lane as well, securing, making sure they know they don't get caught out when they go for that top Tier 1, because potential sanking Warlock teamfight is exactly what they don't want to be running and fighting into. So really on-point play coming out from Solo's Ogre so far.
3-3 right now, 11 minutes in. Goldgraph looking to be the favor of VP, about 2,500 and a 2,000 experience lead, but NP do seem to have better map control. Let's see if they can translate that into another team fight. They're going to be able to catch the Luna here. Luna, Moonlight Shadow, they will glimpse him back into this control of Pasha. They are managed to get the Disruptor ultimate on top of the AUI as well. And that will be heavy commitment from VP, but well worth it to take out the carry of NP.
And they know once that Luna's down, they probably feel confident enough that they can just chase for more, because the team fight isn't quite as scary without the Luna.
Yeah,
they're fighting into the Warlock Sanking ulti combo. If there's no Luna there for the cleanup, chances are you'll still at least trade fairly favorably.
Yeah, you still don't have Blink Dagger on Sanking, and this Mirana is far enough behind that she's not a big team fight threat. So Luna, enemy number 1 for VP. They're now going to try and put some pressure on the Tier 1, or at least allow no one to do some chip damage. They completely surround him. How's NP going to respond to this? They do still have some of those big teamfight ultimates, and it seems they're going to try and employ them with a 2-man smoke wraparound here. Or maybe they're not going to wrap on mid and just try and push into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, scan around this mid lane. I think VP caught wind.
Pull back there, but a nice jump away. Perfect timing there from MSS with that Burrow Strike.
That was crucial. He was just 200 short of Blink Dagger. Getting caught out there would have been very problematic.
It seems like NP had different ideas about what to do, unless that smoke was like an accidental thing, but they did that 2-man smoke up, and then they kind of split off, and it seems like Luna just wanted to be able to farm up that bottom lane instead of trying to actively engage into a team fight against VP.
I imagine that they probably misread the situation. They thought VP were committing for the mid Tier 1 tower and wanted to try get the flank on them from behind, and then TP the Sanking in. But as soon as they realize VP back off, they pull back and don't want to waste time. They've got to maintain, get those next couple of items up. They make sure that Roches are going on. But this next fight not going to be as easy as they would hope for, even though they're going to have the big ultimates, because that mech is now going to be completed on the Underlord.
That mech, but also the Blink Dagger on the opposing side for MSS. Thanks to his clutch timing on the Burrow Strike earlier, he managed to keep that gold intact, and we could have some big-time initiation for NP. How does VP play against that Blink Dagger? Do you think they need to group up a lot more and just stay pretty 5-man because they have this mech and everything, and there's so much strong initiation now from NP? Or is that going to cost them too much gold efficiency to be that clumped?
And if they see heroes missing, they need to be kind of grouping up. They can't afford to just be letting NP find those pickoffs around the map. They need to be protecting the Sniper. We'll likely see Solo just kind of playing that sacrificial role where he's trying to just put himself in a position to scout out the ganks.
Charge, and they do manage to quickly kill Lil here as he's going to be bumped into the arrow. He should be able to get that one. The mech actually goes down. Maybe Lil can still actually get something off. They just rip apart that Spirit Breaker, and NP is actually going to be forced back here as the Moonlight Shadow and a fight around the Shrine is just not what they want to take. So, man, I thought with that arrow coming in, I was like, oh, all right, that's going to be a dead Disruptor, but our early mech comes in.
I think Envy's like, I could go in aggressively for the Starstorm, but if I do, I'm dead as well, so...
Yeah.
An immediate smoke. They want more. They're going to find more.
Oh, that's exactly the kill they want to be able to pick up. Eternal Envy's just going to have no traction in this game. The turnaround, though, MSS managed to get a beautiful ultimate. They managed to take down one with AUI. They're going to be able to get the other support, but the rest of VP have already started backing themselves away. The Ursa does manage to at least pick up SVG in return.
Ursa might go back in.
And they're still pretty healthy. There's no big ultimates going out. The Burrow Strike hits Ramses here, but there's just no firepower on NP. Not anymore.
I guess ends up being a even-ish trade. I still feel like VP get the better of it just because they're going to kill a Mirana. Anything to slow down this Ag Scepter timing is beneficial for them. They lose 2 supports, NP loses support and a core. Gold-wise, it slightly went okay for NP, but at the end of the day, they are in desperate need of NP to kind of come up big this game. It's his hero that is going to have to be able to split push the map and kind of be the answer to what's going to become a VP 5-man around a mech plus pipe timing is going to be VP able to take team fight.
Ooh, a charge, but immediately there's Pasha with a turnaround. They do manage to get the stun onto MSS, hoping to be able to stop that Burrow Strike. The Static Storm's in good position, separating this fight. Ramses will get Rose as they try and back themselves away now. Eternal Envy does have an arrow. Beautiful Burrow Strike from MSS. A 3-man that opens things wide open for NP.
That was fantastic. The coordination, and they're so fast to go into the Roshan pit. VP do not have a really viable response to this. They don't have any buybacks, nor would you particularly want to at this stage of the game. So fantastic initiation, and MSS, with AUI's help, come up big.
I really thought that after that team fight, right, because it went a little bit of a trade-off, slight lead for NP in the gold, as you mentioned, but big team fight ultimates used, while VP are not cooldown dependent. I thought VP was just going to be able to group up and force mid again, but NP with a jump like that, easily taking the team fight, and they will get an Aegis for Luna. Their troubles. Nice glimpse back. Looks like a potential pick onto Rose. Nice timing there from Pasha. He started up that Pit of Malice for a second and then canceled it and redid it right as Rose was going for the charge out.
I'm definitely with you. I thought VP were in an okay position to go for that play, but NP just completely caught them by surprise with a really nice multiple hero Burrow Strike, the Fatal Bonds hitting a few heroes as well, and NP being able to kind of position himself further back so he could dish out damage without getting taken out at the start of the fight.
Yeah, I think VP was just a bit out of position and didn't expect some quick aggression like that from NP. As you could see, they were, even with the Aegis going into the hands of NP, they're still willing to go for that quick 5-man into a tower push. They don't manage to get it though. AUI bullying the heroes back with his Aegis will take the deny instead.
Still, I guess, a key objective for them taking down on the map. That's a kind of big focal point on the map where you kind of deny from your opponents. But with the new shrines, it is still a lot easier to maintain map control and maintain control of your own jungle here. So even having lost that Tier 1 tower, they still have easy TP access to Roche Pit, easy access to their own jungle. So not as big as it maybe once was to take that mid-Tier 1 tower.
We've got, let's see, Manta Style is going to be coming in relatively soon for AUI. He's actually not that far away, just needs the ultimate orb. It's our poor Mirana, who's been pretty far set back. He's just got the Ogre Club trying to work towards that Aegis Scepter. In order to get that speed up of the goal, do you think NP, they just wait for their team fight ultimates and start going for a 5-man push off the Aegis, or is that still dangerous against VP?
I think ideally they do want to be even, like, before getting the Ag Scepter, trying to take some fights around their big ultimates here. They've got smokes to play around with. They just need to get these lanes pushed out so it's a bit less apparent where those ganks are going. And you can see from VP's posturing, they're playing very defensively, deep on their side of the map. They don't want to really push on out at all. They know NP have the far superior teamfight at this point. Aegis aside, it's just a big teamfight combo they just don't want to be engaging into. Ramses is trying to finish off his BKB, and that's something that they just want to try and quietly farm while avoiding NP.
It seems like VP are kind of willing to give this Tier 1 tower at mid up if NP force the issue. We had the Underlord already rotating to bottom instead.
The main issue for NP is, like, if VP avoid them, it's not easy for NP to just, like, brute force towers. They've got Luna who can push, but if you've got Luna kind of position on the front lines, that gives VP, like, a way into the fight.
Eternal Envy couldn't quite get the position there for an arrow to stop that TP. Either way, unlikely they were going to really be able to catch that Ursa. Instead, VP are going to go for a 4-man smoke into the bottom area, see if they can go through the Shine, maybe catch somebody who's jungling up. Luna is actually heading in that direction right as the 19-minute marker is about to come up. You see AUI, the Moonlight Shadows pop, but a glimpse used right before the invis goes down actually moves Luna nowhere, so this is going to be the turnaround for NP. The opportunity to find a pick, it's just going to be solo it seems, but still, anything to be able to stop the aggression of VP, well worth it for NP.
It's kind of awkward going for those moves because they don't have a clear initiation. They don't have like a slider or a sanking that like instant disable to kind of lead with. It's the disruptor who they're hoping can get a kind of glimpse catch on someone, but problem is the instant Moonlight Shadow, you've got to kind of wait. You can't just use the glimpse right away. You've got to wait for a couple of seconds to pull the Luna back in, and in that couple of seconds, NP respond and they get themselves in a position to strike. But they cut their losses. They recognize it wasn't a good pick for them, and they're going to lose an Ogre, a tower, and
I love
maybe
this
even
play.
a secondary tower.
This is beautiful. They actually have the mid push going on, but the rest of the heroes have smoked up and rotated bottom. They've caught no one, and a beautiful setup from MSS right as the TP completes from Pasha. They're going to be able to get the extra kill in the core, but they're stuck inside the Pit of Malice. The Underlord is actually getting away here. The turnaround comes out from AUI. The Rage pop by the Ursa is going to be able to tank up a lot of that, but it's still AUI come to the fore. He's going to be able to output enough physical damage to take out these supports. At least one of them, it looks like the Disruptor hiding away in the trees, will manage to survive. The bouncing Glade's just so much to handle, but they will manage to finally bring him down. The Ogre is dead. Ramses and Lil are going to fight this one out with Pasha, seeing if they can actually kite AUI. Pasha will go down first, but AUI will end up going down to Ramses. Lil manages to stay alive through all of that and is looking for the extra craft. He's going to be able to TP into the shrine, catch them with the glimpse, and that is going to be a full wipe here as SVG will die to Ramses.
Oh my gosh, they respond so well to that aggression on the sniper, and Underlord somehow survives with 15 HP, tucks himself into the trees, comes back out for some extra damage output, even throws his life away to make sure they kill the Luna a second time. That was just some incredible coordination from BP.
I thought that was such a cool play by NP to go for that four-man smoke, and you're like, they just let AUI go for that push and see if they can get that, but it just all turns wrong. BP find the initiation, or the counter initiation rather, under that tier 2.
They had the vision to support it, they had the right ultimates to support it, but it was just ends up being a little bit too deep, and VP just with the response there. They burst down Envy nice and fast, and it feels like anytime Envy commits too hard into the fight, VP are more than happy to take it and just trade kills, because they probably recognize that Luna alone isn't going to be able to kind of carry this game. They need Envy to scale as well, and he just keeps on going down in these fights, and it's kind of going to become quite worrisome for NP that the Ursa, the sniper, are just far ahead of Mirana right now.
Is the reason that you say that Luna's not going to be enough to carry this game, is that because I think it was Merlini what pointed out the Luna's range disparity against Sniper puts him at a pretty natural disadvantage. So
yeah,
you need that extra core to get farm, right?
The way they deal with the sniper is through like the Sanking plus Mirana. They're the two main gap closers come mid to late game. Like the Sanking with his Blink 4-stab to get in, and then Mirana needs to follow it up with like not just Snag Scepter, but the Blink, the E-Blades, all these other gap closing items, and damage dealing items, which just aren't going to come online at this rate. So, or they're going to come online at a rate where Sniper is just a couple items ahead, so they're not going to matter. So. Feels like right now, Luna, yeah, she can be in the front lines and do a lot of damage, fight into the Ursa, the Underlord, be effective with the ultimate, but yeah, can't fight the Sniper.
It's getting pretty nasty too. No one has himself a Maelstrom and is about to complete that Hurricane Pike, so we're going to have a nice bit of mobility for this Sniper to add on against this aggressive jump from NP. Speeding things up with this tier 1 tower being traded up as the tier 1 at top is being claimed by NP. They're actually going to start TP here and see if they can actually take this fight off. The Glyph baiting AUI a bit. They're going to be able to catch him with Ramses, but Rose bumps him back. Nice jump in from Pasha. That's going to be able to catch these heroes long enough for the Static Storm and the Kinetic Field combination to be able to catch these heroes. AUI only surviving off of his invis for now, is backing himself away. MSS with a counter initiation goes in deep, tries to pick up no one, but this hero, it's surviving just a little bit more. MSS, he finally does manage to get that kill, but now he's trapped inside the trees. Can he juke his way to victory here? Has the Burrow Strike, doesn't get hit by the Pit of Malice, goes a little bit deeper, gets the blink, TP's out, Ramses is there, finds MSS, but it's not enough, they glimpse in. They caught him at the end. Lil will bring MSS back to his doom. And Lil looks like he may be dying to these illusions. Actually, because of that Burrow Strike, it brings it close. But Lil barely managed to survive once again in the trees, the MO of this 4 position of VP.
Once again, it's just VP just all on the same page. Whenever VP make a move, they're making it as a 5-man unit. They all go down bottom to defend the sniper. This time it's all 5 of them making sure that they come at the exact same time in the right order to defend their top tier. I mean, they lose the tower, but it's the Ursa initiating. You can't kill him if you're NP. He's got a BKB, he's got Enrage, he's too tanky. So that first hero running at you, you're forced to retreat. Luna gets down to such a sliver of HP. The fight's already kind of over at that point because Luna's unable to re-engage, and without that fighting force from the Luna, NP just didn't have the damage output to win it.
Do you think a large part of this is that Ramses picked up a BKB so early on to this game that he can be such a bruising force against NP? He like is fearlessly diving into this team in situations like we saw at that top lane.
Well, yeah, I was thinking he might just go for the Ags first because you can get any of the stuns, but the BKB is just far better, as we could see in that fight. He's not afraid of anything. He can blink in all by himself. It was a bit unfortunate that there wasn't like a dust following him, otherwise he would have killed off the Luna, but the BKB pickup has worked fantastic for him.
All right, it's finally here. It's finally here, Eternal Envy. He just needs a little bit more tick gold, and he will have the Aghanim Scepter, in which case we'll start seeing some of these other items quickly following up. It's such an important item for the Miranda to have to progress in that farm.
Yeah, this is, I think MP going to perhaps be forced a little bit to slow things down, but they're also playing a lineup that doesn't necessarily want to slow things down too much, otherwise VP will just take control of the map, push out all these lanes, and Sniper getting a few more items, and just not just Sniper, but getting like Underlord onto the Greaves, getting just all these teamfight items into play is going to make it very hard for MP to have the damage output just to kind of scale, because they are so spell dependent. They're not really going to get too much out of their items outside of the Luna, and these ultimates from the magic damage is just going to kind of fall off as like the Pipe, the Mechs, the Greaves all come into play.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that last fight. In the MSS, he just ran out of damage towards the very end. Only barely had enough to be able to kill no one, and that was before the level 15 talent. So now this Sniper has 1600 health when he's on agility power treads, goes up to around 1801 strength. So this guy is actually exceptionally tanky, and he's got the mech as well as the Pipe that he can rely on. They actually have to commit so much to be able to kill this damage dealer who's traditionally thought of as a glass cannon here on the back lines.
And with the Bloodlust, like he probably feels confident, like, oh, he's got enough damage. Yeah, he's already queued up the BKB. He doesn't feel like he needs to go for offensive items. He just wants to stay alive as much as possible.
Moonlight Shadow, big initiation coming up here for NP as they're going to try and stop this Roshan, but it looks like it's going to happen a bit too fast. The Aegis already in hands of VP. Will NP take this fight regardless? Doesn't seem like it. Throw out the arrow, but not much is going to happen here. NP quick on the retreat, and now it's VP who can push the advantage with this Aegis.
Yeah, we'll see how much they can get out of this one. Still is a scary thought just to try and five-man brute force push into NP if they can hit a good Fatal Bonds and get all that AoE working together. But for VP, it's just going to be the slow siege. Have Sniper as the only one really hitting the buildings, and just back him up if he gets gone on.
All right, well, the chip damage will begin. No one on the front lines, quickly clearing through that creep wave, and NP still hanging around, looking like they do want to try and contest, but with Eternal Envy being hit by this Thunder Strike, they're already a bit out of position, and it looks like this tier 2 is just going to be given up. MSS being the only one to try and actually split push at this point.
One uncontested out of towers. They can get the other tier 2s, that then opens them up to kind of take out these shrines as well and really deny NP any control of the map or their own jungle. But VP happy for now just to kind of play the farming efficiency game. Pasha's already TP'd down bottom, completed Greaves and Pipe, who's going to be going for a Crimson Guard next. So team survivability is the name of the game there, and kind of going to be reaching that point soon where if they want to be getting kills in these fights, it's going to have to come from AUI having another big item or two.
Yeah, he's trying to pick up the BKB right now. We also need Eternal Envy to start progressing in his items. The Blink Dagger, Ethereal Blade, those sort of things still need to be picked up. Pasha going for a use of his Dark Rift. TP out of that bottom lane. Smart move, does manage to stay ahead of the attempted gank by NP.
Yep. And he knows he's pushed out that bottom lane enough that they'll get the tier 2 top tower and not have to worry about trading towers. That's the one thing they don't want to do, is just make trades here. They want to be the ones taking towers and then defending lanes as needed. They can either defend bottom now, or they can force like the tier 3 tower to get NP TPing back. So they're the ones who are dictating play.
Seems like VP are trying to position themselves to catch a hero as they rotate back to defend that top lane. Ramses aggressively blinking forward here. Does manage to actually run into Rose. Moonlight Shadow being used though. It's damage. It just comes too quick thanks to that Mask of Madness. The heavy attack speed from this Ursa rips apart a Spirit Breaker before the Moonlight Shadow could take hold.
Is picking them apart one by one. That's the beauty of taking out all these outer towers. MP are just kind of playing blind at this point. Being able to get down a few Observer wards, but Not much has kind of stayed up, and
I mean, this is how you know that this is what like Eternal Envy does, right? He sees when an enemy team has an advantage, and he starts doing these things that are like kind of like anything just to be able to gain a small advantage. He loves being able to cut creep waves a lot. He'll do like really aggressive maneuvers because he knows that the current game is very favored for VP, so he's got to do something different.
yeah, and it's one of those things where all it would have taken is maybe one observer would seeing him coming there, disruptive, preemptively TPs back, and he gets caught during the TP. But he knows you've got to go for those small efficiency plays when you're down as NPR. They're still in a position where their high ground defense is very potent, very scary. VP are not going to be able to break through, take any kind of a racks with this Aegis right now. They're still just looking to scale item-wise. No one doesn't go for the BKB right away. Picks up the Mjolnir, recognizing the Aegis is enough protection for him. There's no fights kind of coming anytime soon with NP playing keep away, and the Aegis expiring probably means VP are going to kind of continue to play this map control game.
There's the Blink Dagger finally for the Mirana. AUI serving as the frontliner here in this top lane push. They've seen the sniper a couple times, so they don't really feel too scared about VP initiating, but push the lane in a decent amount, give themselves some space to work with, and now they'll try and play the farming game in the bottom half of the map.
A lot of TPs down bottom here. It looks like NPR thinking about this sniper.
Oh, they're going to go for the Underlord play, actually. They're going to try and contest what was a pretty clear read of NP. They're going to be able to get this glimpse thanks to that one. BKB preemptively utilized, and that's a big win as long as VP don't get caught in a nasty situation here. The Fatal Bonds, the charge goes out. They are going to be able to get a Golem onto 2. AUI surges forward with that ultimate, but a Glimmer Cape's going to be able to save Lil, not going to be able to save Pasha. It looks like the damage seems overwhelming as MSS comes in with the epicenter, tries to find Lil, but they've already got him dead. No other hero is going to be caught on the side of VP. A Dark Rift that thought was going to actually turn out pretty good with that glimpse, but the BKB and a nice jump in by NP turned things around pretty starkly, and now no one's in some trouble. He's going to be charged up by Rose. The Invis still working its dividends here. Rose is going to be able to bump back the Ogre. They're actually going to try and kill that support first, but Rose is going to have a hard time backing himself away. Ramsey's popping the BKB, and NP will begin the kite game. But unfortunately, our Warlock not able to kite at all. The Diffuser Blade slows him down to a crawl. Ramsey looks for the next kill. Actually, Trench is trying to back out. His BKB is done, and now the magic damage is going to do its work. Popsy Enraged survives a little bit longer underneath this tier 2 tower. They need a bit more, and they've got him too. MSS dies for it, but he managed to ensure both the cores of VP go down, and NP in a great position now to pressure a tower.
The timing of that aggression from NP is just so good. They keep chasing the tier 2 tower as they know the Aegis is about to expire. It expires like, he uses the Yules and it's like expiring mid-Yules. And NP then just bring him down after it, and it was fantastic decision making coming out. Bottom lane, they'd make sure, even though the BKB was wasted, they kind of recognized that VP had just caught out. They weren't all together, they weren't ready for a fight, and NP realize that they can hit that big combo on the 3-4 heroes down bottom.
Yeah, they're so overly committed to this attempt to bring everyone to this bottom lane and see if they can actually get a catch on that glimpse that they're definitely out of position. And now things looking quite nasty. The Underlord's going to try and continue this progression in these sustainability items, pick up the Crimson Guard, but at a certain point in time, the sustain that this hero offers is strongest in the first 35 minutes of the game. This team fight may not be as easy once the Luna really starts picking up heavy physical damage.
What do you make of the Necrobook build on the Spirit Break? Have you been seeing this at all? Or?
Yeah, we saw this earlier, and I think that I like it quite a bit because it gives you this really powerful, because you've got the control of charge and the ultimate, as well as you can probably rely on Unabashed coming in, right? Okay. So you've got a hold of like 6 seconds on a hero, in which case those Necronomicons just do so much work, burning through a hero's mana. It gives you a little bit of pushing power, some split pushing power as well. It just seems to fill a lot of gaps that Spirit Breaker has going later on into the game.
It did. It was one of those items that received some nice little buffs with the shorter cooldown on the mana burn. So we'll see what VP look to do now. They are kind of grouped up here, wondering if they're going to be the ones making a smoke play. They probably ideally want to grab themselves another Aegis before they get too aggressive again. They know, for the most part, they still have pretty good control of the map, having taken down the tier 2 towers in both top and mid lane. Problem is that shrine near the Roche pit, which they still can't bring down. Underlord going up top.
Yeah, the butterfly is complete now for NP. It's going to be pretty nasty. So even if their magic damage is beginning to run out a little bit, they are picking up big physical damage in this Luna. And eventually Mirana is also going to be making some big leaps in damage as well. He's currently trying to actually pick up a BKB after this Blink Dagger. he chose to go for. Eternal Envy showing himself in the top lane. He might rotate mid as well, but the other four have smoked up, pushed forward inside their own jungle, and hoping to be able to catch someone, but Ramsey's already blinks himself back. MSS managed to get the catch, but it's a little bit too far. All of these VP heroes, AY says, damn it, I'm going in. You guys need to follow me in, but he realizes this is too much to handle. A couple of BKBs popped by VP, and now they're the ones who are going to try and turn things around. Nice glimpse back into the Underlord horde. AY can't really do much out of this. Manta, but gets a Force Staff out of that Static Storm. He's going to be good for now. No one's damage is stalled up. MSS gets the Burrow Strike, but this upheaval, it's doing so much work. All these heroes, they're stuck inside this one. They can't go anywhere. No one's just tearing them apart from a distance. Rose bumps him back, just an attempt at a retreat, but he's not going to be able to make it out of here and assassinate. He gets peeped. NP, they still try and finish this one up. Eternal Envy will manage to get no one, it looks like, but he's dropped quite low. Underlord and Solo, they're trying to battle it out with MSS right now. MSS with the Golem feeling good, gets the two-man Burrow Strike. Solo's quite low, but it looks like Eternal Envy's not willing to make that commitment just yet. He comes forward. AF Starstorm, not going to be able to hit Solo here. Underlord threatening them with the Padded Malice is going to be able to catch Eternal Envy on a second here. There goes a multi-cast stun, and the Burrow Strike misses. MSS in some serious trouble, has already lost his damage dealer. Can he actually make it out of here? Yule Scepter, Force Staff forward. Sandstorm trying to get out. Burrow Strike is up in a second, and it looks like he will escape, but NP have dropped 4, thanks in part to VP No One just outputting so much damage on that sniper.
Yeah, he suddenly got brought down very quickly at the end by the Mirana, but that was, I guess, an okay fight in the end for NP. NP should not have died there, though. It was one of those things where normally it's high risk, high reward. That was a high risk, low reward. He was overcommitting at the end to try to bring down the Ogre, and not really worth dying for, but VP perhaps getting put back a bit there. Both Ursa and Sniper dying in the fight, both teams losing their cores. Neither team really progresses all too much, but this will kind of set the stage for that next Roche fight. Coming in a minute, Roshan will be back up, and both teams will be eyeing that one off. NP will have most of their team fight ultimates back up, and VP will be trying to secure that with their Ursa.
25 to 20, 35 minutes in, we are going to start approaching and thinking about what the late game is going to be looking like for these two teams. Do you give the advantage to the Ursa Sniper and the physical damage they're able to output, or do you think Luna and maybe a comeback from this Mirana could be enough? Oh, a catch here, SVG. Nice use of the Dark Rift with the help of Ramses. They'll easily be able to get that pick off on a support. 50 seconds. This is probably enough for them to take that tier 2.
I think the late game can swing back NP's way if they can manage to get NP just another item or two. Well, they're trying to. If Roche had respawned there, that would have been such a good pickup for NP, blocking it from VP. But they're just going to camp in here. They know it's respawning sometime in the next 20 or so seconds, and they'd love to get it, but
you got to feel for them. They're like, hey, it's got to spawn soon, but it looks like VP is going to be able to get that tier 2 at bottom lane for free, and they can actually start rotating and contest Roshan for themselves. Looks like they're going to take the Shrine first.
Some extreme misfortune, and I mean, VP aren't even kind of scouting out the pit. They did have the Observer Ward in the neighborhood and did see NP kind of floating around and leaving the pit, so probably felt safe knowing that they weren't actually in there. And yeah, with the Shrines able to be taken down, this game gets a lot more difficult for NP to kind of assert themselves on the map. They're going to have to come up with some very clever smoke usage to make those kind of moves again.
Fortunately, that's one of the great things about the Mirana pickup in this kind of patch, right, is that they may be locked inside their base, but they're not just reliant on smokes to be able to push out and find initiations.
And Envy's one of those players who I feel uses the Moonlight Shadow almost better than any other Mirana.
Oh yeah, I think that dates all the way back to the earlier days of Cloud9, the way they were able to use the Mirana then. Always very efficient and opportunistic rotations with the Moonlight Shadow.
Love what we're seeing here. Pasha going for like potentially going in for an extra 4-star, anything to help keep no one alive in these fights. He just wants to tank up as much as possible. Normally you expect like an MKB against the Butterfly of Luna, but this Sniper just wanting to make sure he can keep himself alive as much as possible.
The smoke initiation. Looks like it could be Eternal Envy who's going to be the first one to pop this smoke. And he's got that quick reaction leap. That's not necessarily the best target to run into. Maybe they're going to think about going back into this pit. Let Ursa try and do it. They kill the creep that's inside of the pit. And now let Ursa solo up Roshan. It's going to force NP into an initiation, but it may not be the clean initiation you're expecting out of a Roshan fight. Arrow lands onto the Underlord, but NP still not feeling comfortable with actually taking that fight.
really good positioning from Solo. He knows if they want to go on him, he can at least bait all the spells. If he dies, it's not too big of a deal as long as he's bloodlusted his teammates.
Yeah, and this is the space needed for them to be able to get this Aegis and Cheese. An arrow comes out, not going to land on anything. Roshan is going to die here. The fight may still actually commence. VP are in a position to be able to catch somebody potentially. Lil's going forward, looking for the glimpse. Does manage to actually catch the MSS Sand King, but he immediately gets a blink out. They've also seen SVG with the Assassinate, brought him a little bit low. These heroes start hiding themselves in the trees. It looks like NP is just trying to make a full retreat, and whatever heroes get caught, they're just going to leave them be, and that's going to be SVG.
They cut their losses there, but kind of reminiscent of what we saw earlier from Execration when they were just going into the pit, they didn't have their big ultimates, and they just leave that one tinky hero outside, kind of the bruiser you've got to go through, and you can kill him. That situation was the Tide of DJ. Here it's the Ogre of Solo. If you want to commit spells, you can take this kill, but it's not really worth it to use those cooldowns. Even just using a single Burrow Strike can lose you a team fight if you waste that on an Ogre rather than a hero like a Sniper or an Ursa. So MP unable to get into the pit, and VP find themselves with Aegis and Cheese.
I mean, this is also an Ogre that is unnaturally tanky, right? This is not a build that we see a whole lot, but a Solar Crest as well as a Hood of Defiance on him, and he picked that 8% magic resistance. So this Ogre actually has so much armor on both sides of the table, as well as that miss percentage chance, that it's going to take you a while to eat through him.
Yeah, the casual hood's such a value item for him, and yeah, VP are going to be the ones with all the control to kind of 5-man force towers here, but NP can easily play the split push game, something that Jackie's Mirana is no stranger to.
Yeah, you've also got this really versatile Sand King pickup that also does that really well, thanks to the huge amount of mobility it offers and just real quick clearing of waves. So they've got two different heroes to do that and potentially buy time, enough time maybe for the Luna and Mirana to do what they need to do going into the late game.
So we'll see how much VP can get here. Their lineup outside the Sniper, not exactly built for kind of going onto the, well, it doesn't go onto the high ground, can slowly break it from outside. And I imagine they're going to be looking to force NP onto them.
Glimpse pull back there. No kinetic field latch. The Moonlight Shadow is going to be used, and no one will start backing himself away. Doesn't want to give NP the free opportunity of an invis initiation. Even if they do have the counter, they've got the gem on Pasha. They've got plenty of time to be able to work around, so with the Moonlight Shadow's up, might as well back up for a few seconds and commence the siege.
Pasha actually just going to sit smoke next to no one, so if he gets jumped, there's an immediate potential pipe, as well as Crimson Guard to protect him in broad daylight, but cannot be seen, and this is going to be an uncontested tier 3 tower.
Yeah, nothing really happening here. They're trying to do a bit of split pushing at bottom with this Necronomicon level 1. They will get the tier 2 tower, but no one's very rapidly going to start working on your ranged or melee racks. MKB now up for the Ursa as well, so he can really threaten AUI's Luna. Jump forward, they do manage to stun up no one inside of the base with a nice 4-staff forward, but it doesn't really get enough done.
Trying to see if they can perhaps panic VP, make them use a spell or a BKB they don't want to, but well played by no one. He wants to hold that BKB for the Aegis respawn, most likely.
Bruiser comes forward, Solo, threatening these heroes of NP. They're going to make their initiations. Eternal Envy comes forward with a BKB, but he's already been locked down. Does manage to get the leap away. No one can't quite finish him up, and the Shrine starts doing his work. Meanwhile, inside of this one, Spirit Breaker's in the middle of it with AUI. Here comes MSS with the counter initiation, but the Epicenter isn't going to be able to do enough. He gets the Burrow Strike, a little bit more AoE damage. They brought a couple low. No one's going to come back in, but he's surrounded by enemies on all sides. He focuses on SVG first, pops a BKB, bounces himself away from AUI, goes for the TP out, and that is a clean escape by him. No bash going to come up. Ramses is going to be left behind, though. He'll be the one kited down to his death. NP will hold outside of their base. They lost the tier 3. They lost the ranged racks, but they will hold for now.
That is, I mean, Shrine's helping defend high ground there and be able to immediately re-engage. The Assassinate also wasn't going to be able to kill him thanks to the Shrine. That was really making it tough for VP there, and some just great high ground defense play. Did cost them a Luna buyback, but now they're in a position to push forward and take some objectives of their own. There's still tier 2 towers to go through, but they're going to find a VP side who do not have a buyback on their Ursa because he committed for that MKB purchase.
Yeah, that may be something NP knows, simply because that item pickup was very clearly new. They're going to go for the tier 2s. They're not actually going to go straight through mid and threaten high ground just yet. Perhaps taking the more conservative tier 2s and shrine option.
I think just being able to take out all these shrines and know that you're doing so safely without putting yourself in a position to get caught by a potential glimpse into buyback where you just find yourself in a fight that you're going to... If Luna dies, you've probably just straight up lost the game at this point. So
yeah.
I think MP rightfully just playing it a bit safer. And they'll take out the first of the 2 shrines. Probably not too concerned about that bottom shrine as much right this second. That top shrine near the Roche pit, the more important of the 2.
One thing, it seems SVG, unless I'm missing anything, he really doesn't have a whole lot of progression. We're not going to see the real good late game impact of the Aghanims or Refresher coming out from SVG anytime soon. He had that hand of Midas at okay timing, but hasn't progressed since, oftentimes being chewed up by either the Ursa or the Sniper.
Has guaranteed him the levels to get at least his level 3 ultimate soon, but yeah, no item progression whatsoever. Wouldn't be surprised to see him just pick up some cost-effective lads type items for the team.
And on the other side, we have some very good progression by Lil's Disruptor, who now just completed an Aghanim Scepter.
He is, very, very rich. But I guess, on comparison, that's the Spirit Breaker of Rose also seeing around that 10k net worth mark. But, I mean, the BKB Necrobook, I don't feel will have a similar teamfight impact to a Disruptor Ags. If you can get a good initiation off of that and prevent a BKB coming out from someone like Luna, that can win you a game.
Both MKBs are up for the cores of VP. So they seem to be feeling really comfortable with killing Luna again. No buyback. He's trying to work towards that Satanic, but it's not going to be picked up before this next push with VP. It seems like they don't even need to wait for Roshan.
They are putting themselves in a position where Sniper will not have buyback though, so fairly risky. And Ursa's buyback was about to come back up, so it's not like he's thinking, okay, my Ursa doesn't have buyback, I may as well just spend my money as well, since if we lose a fight, only one of us can buy back. This is a VP team who feel confident they can press forward.
Arrow onto no one, Glimmer Cape. They're actually going to charge him up here. The Underlord's going to try and intercept, but with the BKB activated, they're going to fully commit to no one here, trying to finish him off, but with his BKB activated, it doesn't seem like they have the damage to be able to output. No one, he's actually being targeted by AUI now with the jump in. The MSS doing a lot there, but no one is surviving through this one, but the rest of the team is not. VP are collapsing now, and Pasha can't save them. The Dark Rift attempt, but it's not going to be there. He gets away, but all of his comrades had fallen, and none of NP have dropped.
I don't know, that's such a ballsy play from VP to go with the Sniper in the front lines. He gets hit by the 5-second arrow, but that's not even the problem. He doesn't actually take any real damage during the arrow. It's the Spirit Breaker charge from Rose that sets everything up there, and then the big team fight to follow it up. He stays alive during the BKB, but as soon as it ends, VP just fall apart there, and I think they just didn't recognize in time that the fight was going south, because the plan must have been, okay, if the fight looks bad, we can buy time for the Dark Rift out because we've got these BKBs, but it looked like they just thought they were winning the fight because that Dark Rift came way too late for them to salvage this situation.
Yeah, MSS, like all that physical damage that they attempted on Noah just seemed to do so little, but his BKB wore off, and MSS came in with just the most beautifully timed epicenter, hitting all the clumped up heroes. A little bit of poke there at Lil. No follow-up there from Eternal Envy. Throws out the arrow now, but they're chipping away at this tier 3 tower. 25 seconds until jump in. Ooh, Ramses actually trying to push NP back. That is very risky. It costs them a BKB charge, which NP are not going to try and punish here. Not feeling comfortable with the 15 seconds.
Yeah, down to 5-second BKB anyway, so probably just feeling like this is an extra like 10 if I do this, this will buy me 10 seconds off my Sniper's respawn time, so not worrying about the timer on it. Does put his BKB on cooldown for a short while, but I think NP know with Sniper respawning, they saw what just happened to VP, trying to push high ground into shrines, into high ground advantage. It's not going to work out well for them once Sniper's back alive with Bloodlust. And when you're pushing high ground to Sniper, he can sit way back by his throne, by his tier 4 towers, and be really well protected.
Yeah, potentially you could say VP have better high ground just because of the nature of the Sniper. And it's nighttime, so that vision's just going to be garbage for NP, trying to seek out that hero. So maybe it's all going to come down to a Roshan fight. Neutral ground where these two teams can collapse, poking at Pasha, but of course he is a tanky son of a gun, and there's no way that NP want to make that kind of commitment. Not on that hero, at least.
VP need to be careful there. Probably just going to be banking on the Dark Rift bailout if they get caught outside their base on someone like Sniper, and they're not going to be able to take the fight, so They are committing. Even the Ursa not kind of, or he used his buyback just now. We'll be looking to upgrade into that Abyssal as soon as possible. The Blink Abyssal on someone like a Luna into the Static Storm is probably going to be the play they look for to start off a fight, because that's really the best insta-disable they've got to work around. And
that is the one real big downside, right? Is that VP's initiation is not hard and fast like NP's is, with potentially, you've got Spirit Breaker that's a little bit of telegraphing, but very clearly like MSS has this Blink Burrow that can actually set up and they can combo stun heroes down before the BKBs go off. VP don't really have that same option unless it's, as you said, the Blink Abyssal.
I mean, if Lil doesn't get like an Ags Static Storm off all game, it's by no fault of his own. There's no setup. It's one of those spells which, realistically, to get off before a BKB comes out on a Luna or someone, you need a stun to go before you. And that is just kind of what's lacking until something like the Abyssal comes up. And even with the Abyssal, it's still not going to be always reliable. And NP are going to be looking to play around that one. I'm curious how much NP worry about Roshan. After the last few defenses, they may just feel like they can still defend against an Aegis, but at the same time, they may just want to strike while the iron's hot. They've got the Ursa without a buyback. Sniper, they don't know, doesn't have buyback for now, although he's very, very close, and that's something VP will definitely want to have before they try anything like a Roche.
A smoke up, and NP will indeed contest Roshan, it seems. Spreading themselves out, not sure which direction they're going to be heading. Eternal Envy's going to be leading the way. Follow me, he says. Moonlight Shadow into the off-lane jungle of the Radiant side. The scan of the Dire has actually clipped some of VP as they're sitting right here in the mid lane. They're actually going to smoke up, and we may see ourselves a little bit of a merry-go-round, as it's going to be VP who now push forward, and NP are actually now taking the Radiant high ground.
Well, can NP get themselves an Aegis is probably the big question here.
Smoke, they're going to run into an invis of Rose, but they do see him thanks to the gem. BKB activated, but Ramses locks him down, is able to get that bash, holding the hero in place, and now NP on top of an arrow. NP, they've lost their Spirit Breaker, but they're not able to make the commitment on a solo. He's obviously just not the hero they can go on. These two big guys, Underlord and Ogre, they just serve as these tanky heroes that, oh my god, he actually popped the epicenter. They thought they were actually going to come forward. VP, they didn't actually go for it. They went back for the Roshan pit. That's going to be an epicenter completely wasted. And now NP, I have no idea how they actually contested, but they're going to try. They drop the golem and a beautiful Burrow strike onto multiple heroes, but it's just not enough. Barada, he's already been brought down. No one, he's now targeting MSS. MSS trying to make his way away with the Yule Scepter. Here comes Luna. Pasha's trying to go for the Dark Rift out. Solo is trying to battle up against this as well. AUI's getting kited around this guy. He's just not good for him. Ramsey's on top of it as well. He tries to pop this A10, but it's not enough. Ramsey survives. He doesn't win that 1 versus 4, and now it's going to be the extra heroes. NP down for 2 minutes on the Luna, and VP in a great position, not just to take Roshan, but also to force those buybacks.
Yeah, NP were very, very adamant. They wanted to hold that high ground. Even having lost the Spirit Breaker, they felt standing on those Radiant Ancients, they knew they had the high ground advantage, and NP would have to come up into them. They felt they could use the epicenter there, but NP, they missed the epicenter, and after that, everything just falls apart. Envy got caught out in the Ag Static Storm and unable to get his BKB off, really cost him.
Look at no one. He is slowly waddling his way to the front lines. Oh. No boots. They're sitting in his backpack as he went ahead and forsook those for the Aegis.
Why not?
I mean, he could just plant himself outside of the base. NP's going to be forced into an engagement at some point.
Just a casual, almost 1,200 attack range. Coming out with the extra attack range from his level 25 talent.
1,200 attack range, 330 movement speed. That's the way you rock it.
Well, that's going to be the melee Rax, but a kind of melee Rax that's kind of inconsequential. You're kind of at that stage, 52 minutes in, one lane of, you already lost the range Rax there. It's not going to change the state of the game too much. You've got plenty of heroes that can push out lanes at this point.
And thanks to this gigantic push at top lane, they are going to be forced back. They can't just continue to rotate into another lane.
Pasha's there to farm it up. He's kind of hitting that critical mass himself. Doesn't really have too many item slots to free things up here. Really wants to hold on to all of these teamfight items at this point.
I like his choice of Vlad's. I think he had a quick buy of Sight the Vice at one point in time, but clearly this Vlad's is going to have so much value for the Sniper and Ursa.
Let's see a late Ags on the Ogre. This is some added magic damage and just extra lockdown. For someone like Luna, when you're getting down to that stage where you're going to have a 5-second BKB, this can be quite highly impactful. And speaking of Luna, a fresh Aghanim Scepter.
Yeah, I felt like that last ultimate, was it there in that last team fight? Or did he just pick it up?
I think he just picked it up,
Okay.
I'm gonna say.
All right, okay. In which case, we're going to see the firepower of this Eclipse. He could potentially throw it with the Sand King initiation. They could just have mass magic damage, but VP is incredibly tanky. They've almost got 3k HP on the Sniper. Same goes with the Underlord. They've got over 3k on the Ursa, and he's got Enrage as well as BKB. It's an amazing amount of magic damage that NP can put out, but ultimately it does have its end, and VP may just be able to survive through it and strike back afterwards.
This is, yeah, on paper, the answer to the Sniper. You can't get close enough to hit him, well, just throw an ultimate on someone like a Sand King who can get in melee range of him. And if you can do enough damage, like if you get Sniper alone in a Burrow Strike with the Axe Eclipse before his BKB, he will melt very, very quickly. Doesn't really have good sustain, doesn't have any kind of a lifesteal like a Satanic to heal himself back up, so he will be pretty much permanently low. The Underlord with the Greaves is not going to be able to heal him up really enough in that situation.
We've got the Blink Dagger on Lil as well. We haven't, I think, seen too much of a big jump from the Disruptor to get a big Static Storm lockdown, but maybe possible with this next initiation. They're going to start chipping away at that tier 3 tower. I say chipping, but it's more like chunking with the way that no one's outputting physical damage right now.
Yeah, they're going to just say, NP, you guys are going to have to come at us.
And MSS is not going to be able to find a clean initiation. Seems like Pasha is able to sniff him out pretty easily.
Ramsey's just looking for that jump. If he can get a Blink Abyssal into the Static Storm, that's going to be all over for NP.
There goes the arrow onto no one. He tanks it. The Glimmer Cape is up for now. Now comes the Shiva's 2-man Burrow Strike to set things up. Ramses is going to immediately going to jump forward, and he targets the Luna, almost bringing him down. The Golem stops things up, and Ramsey still gets that final swing. The Golem's in Fatal Bond's a good position, but they just don't seem to have enough damage. VP still look very tanky. They finally get that ultimate down, but they're lacking the Luna ultimate, and that is what the game plan was. NP just run out of steam here. Their 2 heroes are down for 2 minutes, and that means they will call it GG. Virtus.pro will take this game 1.
I mean, that's a fantastic way to open this series. Such an evenly contested game. Both teams had that kind of their openings there. VP just made better use of having the Aegis, having the cheese, and they just found ways to kind of execute their team fight. They just protected the Sniper so well. The 4 staffs, the Underlord just with all those team fight items. NP just couldn't quite get to him. It really came down to that Luna versus Sniper matchup where Luna could do damage to the frontliners, but that was the tanky heroes, that was the Ogre, that was the Underlord. Heroes you just didn't want to be attacking.
Yeah, it seemed like Virtus.pro, they just drafted so well around this Sniper with the early Underlord pickup. Do you feel, watching this Underlord, that you felt like maybe that's a strong enough hero you don't want to be giving that away in the 1-2?
It wouldn't have been as powerful if not for that. If that 3rd, 4th Ogre Sniper was really what kind of sold it. Like, I saw those 4 picks and was like, okay, this draft works, regardless of 5th pick. The Underlord on itself wasn't the problem. It wasn't maybe even like the best game. Some of the ultimates we saw were kind of hit or miss. He missed a few to save the Sniper. So this game could have been even more effective from the Underlord if he'd maybe made some of those plays. But yeah, definitely a hero we want to consider banning come game 2.
Well, NP have a lot to think about it. We're going to give them a break. We're going to give you a break as well as we go into game 2.
Virtus.pro are back in the running again. They are 1-0 to the good after taking out Team NP in the opening game of their elimination match to decide our third semi-finalist. Welcome back to Resorts World Genting for ESL One, first esports event of 2017. We're back at the desk with our merry men once more. Ben, what did you make of that?
MP put up a much better fight than I thought they did. They thought they would, rather. They had really strong team fight, but Sniper, ho-ho.
I mean, it wasn't just Sniper, though. I mean, they had a lot of really close team fights. I think MSS really held tons of those fights together, getting people from a fight that looked really bad, and all of a sudden you come out with an epicenter, get them low enough to finally finish them off with a second round of Starstorm. But there were some farm problems on NP. NV got his Ags a lot later than normal. And that was mostly just because VP went back to what they're good at. Ogre Magi sitting mid, zoning him, don't let him get last hits.
Yeah, we mentioned comfort was an issue for them in the previous matches that they had, much more comfortable.
Yeah, I think they played a lot better that game. That looked completely like VP, the VP that I recognized. They had great team fights. Their laning was effective. They got a lot of levels on the Disruptor as well, whereas in other games they kind of let them fall behind a bit.
Yeah, well, it wasn't all their own way. I mean, MP put up a decent fight.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, already mentioned MSS's Sand King. He had, I lost count of how many good epicenters he had. It was brilliant. You know, he was hitting 3-man burrow strikes, getting the epicenters out, and it just was the case that at the end of the game, it just wasn't enough damage coming out from him, and the rest of the team started to fall apart because of this kind of great team play that VP had, this combination that we saw and we talked about at the start of the Abyssal Underlord with the Disruptor. You've got this field down, you've got this pit down, MP's kind of running around, and they keep getting rooted, they keep getting stuck, and it's just proved to be very hard for them to hold their own at the end of the game in the later team fights. But mid-game, MSS's plays totally held them in there.
Yeah. Do you think, Ben, maybe had they won one or two of those, it could have changed the outcome of the game?
Yeah, I think so. I think MP are probably happy with the performance. I don't think that VP probably are, just because it shouldn't have even gone that late. They lost that 3 heroes in the mid to the 3-man burrow strike, and then they lost Roche. Like, when you lose Ursa, or when you have Ursa and you lose a first Roche like that, the game goes on much longer than it should have, and they probably didn't want to be in that position where they could have lost one team fight and lost the game.
How much impact did the draft have, Kevin?
Well, I didn't like the Spirit Breaker still. I thought it would be a bit iffy. It kind of ran around, didn't do nearly as much as Ogre Magi accomplished. I mean, there was some occasional good disables, and I think the Warlock was still very good also. Their team fight was very strong, despite the laning going a bit weak. But I think at some point it was just Luna. Like, the game was even only as close as it was because AUI had some, like, his first 3 eclipses were all amazing. Getting solo kills, pressuring lanes, having good team fights. Like, it took a lot of work every single fight. There was just tons of high action, very close fights.
Don't forget about Ramses. Ramses was like 9-0 very early on into the game, beyond godlike in this specific clip, and I think he played very, very well.
Yeah, he really did. He was very difficult to kill. Went Mask of Madness this game. It was a good choice, though, because NP is almost entirely magic damage, so reducing your armor by a bit doesn't cost so much of anything. Plus Bloodlust. He was actually a good enough solution to kill Luna, despite Luna's high armor, high HP, all that stuff. He played amazing.
What do you think MP learned from that, Owen?
I think kind of, as we've said, you know, Envy needs to get the farm. It's understandable. He kind of went for what he went for earlier that worked against Fnatic, but it didn't work against VP. He tried to make those plays happen, and when he's not making them happen as frequently as he needs to and as he did earlier, he falls behind.
And that play in particular where he like tried to kill the Ogre and then died for it, that was those plays, like, they set back your farm like a couple thousand gold. You're dead. You're just sitting there for like a minute and a half, just waiting and waiting the farm. They needed him to have like EB and speak AB earlier, and it's small things like that which I think ended up being very costly.
Yep, very long game. Obviously, a few mistakes here and there.
Yeah, this one especially, losing the Mirana here, forced to buy back. It was very difficult to fight them late game. Lots of BKBs, Bloodlust, and things like that to deal with, but they just needed somebody else to pull a bit more weight at some point, because if Mirana wasn't sitting at top net worth and wasn't actually just blowing people up at the start of the fights, it got really hard. And even doing that is difficult against an Underlord who's always going to have a mechanism guarding Greaves, often picking up a pipe. That's a lot of survivability for those tanky heroes.
What would you have changed for MP?
Like I said, the Spear Breaker, I think, was the wrong pick against Underlord. I think it's a really bad matchup. I think it's not as good at applying pressure in the early game as a heroes like Ogre. I think they grabbed it because they wanted to do an aggressive dual lane with Sand King, but I just think there's better heroes that will give you lane advantage, like something that could have maybe offset what Ogre did mid would have been better in a lot of ways, or they needed to pressure the safe lane a lot harder. But there aren't a lot of other good options that are good at aggressive dual laning while also being survivable against an Ursa. And it's maybe one reason Ursa was so good, because it deals amazingly against a hero like Undyne. So they might have been in a corner and felt like they had to take it.
Yeah, taking a little bit of a risk. We'll see how that happens in game number 2. Thank you very much to our gentlemen on the experts desk. We will be back very shortly, of course, heading to a break now. But when we come back, we will have the game 2 draft. Virtus.pro in charge right now as they lead NP by 1-0.